Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking updates. I have several things that I have tried out recently and yeah, I've got some updated thoughts on them that I definitely want to share with you guys. And the first thing that I want to talk about is this lipstick because I really want to put a gloss on top. These are new from NARS. They are called the Air Matte Lip Colors. I picked up 4 of these. And I got to admit that these are definitely something that I regret because it's going to take some effort for me to use these. I don't find them to be comfortable. They are drying out my lips right now. They dried out my lips the day that I was wearing them. And when I tried the other colors, it's happened with all of them. And I've only had this on for about an hour now. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but because it's a little bit darker, and I even tried to fill in my lip with a lip liner because I found that they kind of slide around my lips just a little bit. Not badly, but they move around just a little bit. So I was trying to try these with a liner underneath. Today I'm wearing one from Mercier. It's in the shade Baby Lips, and it's the Long Wear Lip Liner, again from Mercier. I've got this on and I filled in my lips with that. But it's still, I feel like it's just moving around a little bit, and you can definitely see all of the lines in my lips. I don't think that they're bad. I definitely think that there's a market for these. I think that some people will enjoy them, but I don't. I like the colors. I really like this color, and I really like this one. This is Total Domination. I appreciate the colors of these. I think they're beautiful, but I don't like the way that they feel on my lips. They're not as drying as, say, a regular liquid lipstick, but they are still drying to me. And the only positive thing that I can say other than the beautiful colors is that I can put a gloss on top of it. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. This is from Fenty. It's the Pinch Me color of the Pro Kisser Luscious Lip Balm. I don't like the way it feels on my lips. I'm telling you, I want to lick my lips. I hate it when I feel like I just want to lick my lips all day. It's a very uncomfortable feeling for me, so I just haven't been enjoying these. I have not liked them on my lips, so I know I'm going to not pick these up. So I'm probably going to give these away. It's not even something that I'm going to continuously even try to use in my collection. I just want to give them away. I'm going to put this right on top. I noticed that these wore nicely with a lip gloss the day that I wore it in my Get Ready With Me, because right after that video, I want to say about an hour or so, I wanted to lick my lips and I put a gloss on top. I was like, oh, it's really pretty like that. And again, I really like the colors, but I do not like the feeling. That feels a million times better. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stick with this launch and talk about the blushes. Sadly, this just wasn't a good launch for them in my opinion. Not terrible, but not great. It's just mediocre. The NARS Air Matte Blushes. Okay, so these work, but I've only been able to make them work on top of basically a full face. So if you're somebody who likes the less is more approach, that's not really up my alley. But if you're somebody who likes that approach, I don't know that I would suggest it. No, I do know. I wouldn't suggest these. They definitely need something to grip onto. And I'm going to show you in case you missed my Get Ready With Me, because I was concerned that they wouldn't even go on my face with it completely done because of this right here. This is the shade Darling. This is definitely my favorite. I've got a little bit on my finger. I'm just going to put this on. Not under my nail. I want you to go on my hand. So you see, and then if you just lightly blend, I mean, it looks really pigmented, and then it just disappears. It doesn't, and it does it in a very patchy way. So you can kind of see the color still there a little bit, but it's patchy. And that is what I found. So if I use this on top of my foundation, it's definitely more sheer. It does not have as much opacity to it, but it looks really pretty. It's softer, but it looks really pretty on the skin. When I tried this just on bare skin, I just had my moisturizers on, and then I put a little bit of my pore filling primer on. I tried to see what it would look like and if it would adhere, and it didn't. I don't know what is up with these, so I would say that you definitely need to have at least powder on your skin or something for it to adhere to, and a stamping motion works best. But on top of bare skin, it's not good. It is not good. And I hope you guys can see how patchy it looks, and that's what was happening on my skin. It was kind of attaching to dry areas, which we will get into because my skin's never been this dry in my entire life, but that's a whole nother product. So my skin is not in its best condition, and this entire side, it was, when I have foundation and powder on, it's okay. It goes on beautifully. It's a little bit more sheer, but it's still pretty. On top of bare skin, it just adhered to all of the little areas that I wouldn't even see. I don't even see these areas when I don't have any makeup on. I don't see it as much as when you know, it's like, oh, I aged whenever I put powder on. That's how I feel right now with foundation or anything. As soon as I put makeup on, I'm like, oh, there's that dryness. And I definitely feel it, but I don't see it as much when it's just, you know, moisturizer on my skin. And that blush definitely showed me exactly where any spot that I had that was a little drier than anything else, it was like, oh, we're going to attach there and we're going to attach there. So I wouldn't recommend these either. I really only think that these are going to work on a light, I consider myself to be a light medium, and then there is a darker shade, so you could get this one if you were interested. This is the shade Freedom. I don't know. They're just not great. They're not great. The whole launch just was not great. Something that I didn't think was going to work for me, but actually does. It's a little, like I'm right on the edge, but I know for sure that this is going to work for me beautifully during the summer. I love, 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 love my YSL 3D All Over Glow Powder. That's my favorite highlight right now. I like something a little softer. I went even softer today because my highlight is just emphasizing any texture I have on my skin, so I went even less today. This is from Mercier. I had gotten a comment because I didn't even put this on. It's the Rose Pirouette highlight. And when I first saw it, I was like, hey, this is not going to work. Well, in my comment section, someone said that Michelle Wong, it worked for her. Now, I have not seen that video, but I was like, okay, we definitely have a similar skin tone, so maybe this will work for me. And I'm telling you, when I look at it, I'm just like, this looks like it's darker than my face. But when you put it on, it's not actually that dark. And even when I swatch it, it just looks like it has a sheen, which is so pretty because this is the type of highlight that I'm interested in right now, just something a little less intense. And let me show you. So you're just barely going to be able to see that. And it has a really beautiful texture to it. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's really, really pretty, but it's right on the line. Let me show you the YSL one. So this is why it wasn't as shocking to me that it worked, because this one looks deeper as well. If you look at this, this looks like it would be my powder. But when you swatch it, this one is lighter than the, let me show you side by side. I accidentally put that on the wrong finger. I just dipped right into it with the same finger that I dipped into the YSL one. All right, once more, this is the YSL one, and we're gonna use the middle finger for the Mercier one. All right, so you can see, let me get a little bit more. All right, you can see that this one is deeper than the YSL one that I've been, oh, I just love this one. So this one gives me an actual lift. This one, I can wear it right now, but it's going to be just more of a glow. It's not going to give me any lift or anything like that. It'll be really pretty in the sun or when light hits it, but it's going to be much more natural just because it's basically my skin tone. But in the summer, this is going to be gorgeous. So I'm really happy that somebody mentioned that Michelle was able to wear it, because I would not have tested it again because I just assumed that it was going to be too dark. And usually when I'm putting on makeup, I'm either getting ready to film, definitely don't want to cast or anything right there, or I'm going somewhere and I don't want it to look bad in person. So I don't usually play around with that area. It's a little harder to fix in my opinion. Anywho, that does work. So thank you to whomever told me, because yeah, I would not have tried it again. Something else I tested out once more because I thought maybe it was a fluke. Again, in that Get Ready With Me, I tried out the Give Me Glow Vivid Rose palette. Now, something I've gotten asked several times is if I like this one better or Vintage Rose. Vintage Rose is definitely still my favorite of the two. It's just everything in a palette to me. I love roses. Roses and orchids are my favorite flowers. I really want sunflowers. I want sunflowers so bad. I have woods all behind my house, and I really just want to put a whole line of sunflowers. I think it would be pretty. I think it would be pretty. But right now I have a ton of rose bushes, so I just have a special place in my heart for roses, and the Vintage Rose, in my opinion, is my favorite of the two. But anywho, getting to the Vivid Rose palette, I didn't have any issues with any of the shades in here except for the shade right here. What is the name of it? He Loves Me Not. Now, in my video, it didn't get patchy on this side, but then it did on this side. Just so you guys know, anytime I test out an eyeshadow palette, I use eye primer. I know people either love concealer as a primer and some people don't. I definitely do. I love the Urban Decay Naked Skin as concealer, especially when my eyes are a little bit drier, because sometimes primers can be a little bit more dry on my eyes and it can make my eyes just look a little bit more dry, especially on camera, but then when you put the shadows on top, it's fine. Yeah, but I really, really, really do like concealer for eyeshadows, and I know that's not for everybody, especially if you have more oily skin, but my lids are not oily at all, like at all. So I always use an eyeshadow primer, and with this one I did, and then I tried it with my concealer, and it actually worked a little bit better. I don't know if it was more emollient and it just grabbed a little bit better. I had a little tiny bit of an issue, but not as badly as I did in the video. I would still say that this is an iffy shade, but the other shades so far, the only one that I have not tried is this one right here, which is so pretty. I'm going to stain my finger. This is like neon. Ooh, that just fell all over my table. But this shade is so pretty. I have not tried this one yet, but all of the other ones and the metallics in here are absolutely incredible. It is a beautiful palette, and I don't even think that the little bit of inconsistencies with this shade is worth saying that this isn't a good palette. I will say that if you have the Violette palette, which oh my gosh, in my opinion, that is one of the best purple palettes that's ever been made, as in ever. The mattes in that Viseart palette are just on a whole nother level. They look like they have been edited. That is how pretty they blend. No patchiness at all. So my expectations right now are very, very high, but I love this palette. I don't regret it at all. I think it is beautiful. If I had to pick, I would still go with Vintage Rose, but I would still recommend this one as well. It is a stunning palette, and I really want to swatch the metallics just one more time. I would buy this palette just for these metallics. They are incredible. Incredible, and this palette looks so pretty mixed in with Vintage Rose. This next palette I haven't used on camera. I've used it and worn it on camera, but I have not used it and shown you guys like a tutorial. That's what I'm trying to get at. I have not shown a tutorial with this palette, but I've used it a couple times, and it's from By Terry. This was sent to me. It is the VIP Expert palette in number 3, Paris Mon Amour. I'm sure I'm butchering that, so I apologize. This is the outside packaging, and then the inside. I was wearing, I don't remember which video it was, but I was wearing these 3 shades. I believe one of these over here. And the thing is with this palette, I love the textures. It's kind of in between. It's not a metallic as intense as the Give Me Glow, but it's not as refined as, say, the recent Charlotte Tilbury palettes, the Flawless Eye Filter palettes. This is kind of in between, so it's not going to be as intense, but it's not going to be as smooth either. It's a really beautiful formula. They blend really beautifully. They look great on the eyes. I love the way it looks, but I wish they would have taken, like, these are 2 mattes, and well, this one's a little bit different in texture, but you just don't need both of these. I was even playing with it and I was putting one under one eyebrow and one under the other. I was like, no, there's not enough of a difference here. There's definitely no need to have both of these. So I would have taken one of these out and put another matte in here. It would have made it a little bit more versatile, especially for people that really enjoy having mattes in their palettes. So the only thing I will say about this is that I would prefer to have another matte or two in here, swapping one of these out, but I'm just using it in conjunction with other palettes. So it's beautiful, but there is just that one little thing. Let's talk powder foundations. One from La Mer and one from Fenty. One thing I got asked several times about the Fenty one, the Pro Filter Soft Matte Powder Foundation, is can you use this as a powder over top of your foundation? Yes, you absolutely can. And yes, I am wearing this today, buffed over the top of, I used it to buff. I didn't use as much, again, because my skin is pretty dry, but I went around my mouth, I went in the center of my forehead with this, and then I used a whole nother powder on my pores. It's a thing. It's a whole thing right now. But you can definitely use this as a touch-up powder or as something to add a little bit more coverage. If you're somebody who likes to use a powder foundation on top of foundation, you can definitely do that. Now, I have noticed that it is maybe a half a shade darker. When I first used it and then the second time I used it, I didn't see any kind of added depth, but I think I was wearing it a little bit longer. No, I think I might have sprayed it actually because my face is so dry. I think I used my Fix Plus and that made it a little bit darker. If you're my shade, you might want to go down one, maybe, but honestly, I'm happy with this shade. It's not something that I want to exchange. I like it on my skin and I think it's going to work at least, not all the way into summer, but at least when I first start to get a little bit more sun back. But if you are my shade, I do like this one. This is the shade 230. I would say maybe it's a hair too dark, only whenever I use the Fix Plus. So for me, it's not a big deal, but this is so pretty and it blew the La Mer one out of the park. Not only in terms of absolutely a better shade range and absolutely a better price, but my skin looked a million times better, even though I'm dry. It looked a million times better than what the La Mer one did. So this is a hit through and through. I have tried it so many times, so many different ways, and I love it. It might be in my favorites. I know usually I don't put my things that are going to be my favorites also in my updates, but it was something that I definitely had to talk about because mainly this right here. Go with the Fenty. Don't do this. Go with the Fenty. This is the La Mer, what are you called? The Soft Moisture Powder Foundation Broad Spectrum SPF 30. I have two different shades, number 21 and 12. This is number 12. So I believe I said that there was 10 shades. There's actually 12. You can see the shade range now. Before, it still might be this way on La Mer's website. When I bought this, it was not even on any of the websites other than lamer.com. So I wasn't sure how the actual shade range was going to be. There was purple and there was yellow, and I love purple powder for brightening the under eye and all that, but this is a powder foundation, so I was like, what is that? What is that? It's not a color. It is not a color choice. I have no idea what they're doing with that. Yeah, it was a mess. So the shade range is not great with this. There is 12 instead of 10, but yeah, still not good. And I don't know what it is because I can use this as a touch-up powder and it's pretty. It's real pretty. As a powder foundation, the other one has more coverage. This one accentuates my pores, which I don't understand at all because when I wear this on top of foundation, if I take this on my pores, around my mouth, on my forehead, and buff with it like I did with the Fenty one today, it's really pretty. But by itself, it accentuates my pores and it actually looks a little drier than what the Fenty, and I don't even think the Fenty one looks dry. This one looks dry. I don't get it at all, and it's $125. So, yeah, don't do that. Don't do what I did. There is something from that launch though that I absolutely love. So if you want to know about that, stay tuned for my favorites because I'm not going to talk about it. I'm keeping it a secret so that you guys will be surprised. Oh, and by the way, if anybody was curious about the color that I'm wearing on my lips, It is Joyride. I forgot to tell you guys that. Next up, a concealer. This is a new one from SURRATT, the Perfectionist Concealer Palette. I got the wrong shades the first time that I tried it, but the powder was beautiful. Now, when I first put everything on, it looked really good, but then it got super, super crepey. I wish I had 4K back then because I don't think you could truly see it, but it was crepey and dry and was not cute. I went ahead and purchased shade number 2 because I wanted this purple powder. This lavender powder is so pretty, and I can tell you that this looks amazing on top of my other just everyday concealers that I know and love. I've even got it on just a little bit right now on top of my pores. However, these concealers, and this is shade number 2 in case you want to see that. These colors definitely work for me, and the purple powder works for me, but yeah, I cannot make this not look crepey and heavy underneath my eyes. I've tried it with my finger, I've tried it with a brush, and I've tried it with a sponge, and it definitely covers. So if you're somebody who likes cream concealers, I think you will like this. I haven't had the best luck with cream concealers, but I've had a whole lot of luck with SURRATT, so I was kind of hoping that this would be it. Initially, it looks great. An hour later, it is Crepe City. I'm not a fan, but I love this powder. So I will end up using this just because of the powder. And I did try this just to see. I didn't think it would work, but I tried it anyway. I tried these concealers as primers for the eyes just so that I could hopefully use it up. Yeah, it's a little too emollient and a little too thick for that area. Even if I am shearing it out, it's just a little too much for that. So I won't be able to use it like that, but I'm going to use that powder up. Now let's talk about the cause for my super, 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 super angry skin. I tried so hard with this foundation. If you saw my review, it's the Gucci Fluid Debut Fini Naturel. And I have the primer, which is the Serum Debut. I'm so sorry. I know I'm not good at pronouncing things. I really apologize. It's the Silk Priming Serum. I'm able to get these to work. However, I wish I had taken pictures. My daughter literally asked me, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" She goes, "Your face is really red." I know. And it's still red. I actually had a whole layer of my skin come off. I mean, I was peeling like a reptile. And most of it has come off. This side is definitely better than this side. This side is still super dry. And that's what makes me think that the reaction that I was having is from the primer. If you want the full review on this, make sure you check out the video because I did. I tried several different primers in several different ways and I was able to get it to work, but it took me a little while. This primer, I believe, is the cause for the severe dryness. Now, the reason why I think it's the primer is because when I was testing out the foundation, I was also testing out the primer. Every time I wore this primer, even when I was wearing another primer on the opposite side, just trying to see what made this foundation work, I always put the Gucci one on this side. So I have a feeling that there is something in the primer because I did wear this all over my face several times, but the majority of the time I was putting it just on this side. So I think that the dryness and the reaction is coming from something in the primer. I don't know what it is, but it has my skin extremely angry, extremely angry. So I will not be putting either one of these just in case, which I don't really, this is a mediocre product if you ask me. No, you stay away from me. You stay away from me. All right, really quickly, I'm going to go over the products that I'm going to be using, trying to use up this year. I'm giving myself the entire year. Some of these I'm not going to need a year, but the palette, absolutely. I'm going to need a year to pan these. I am doing my first ever project pan. This is one of my beauty resolutions, and I'm taking it very seriously. I'm wearing the palette on my eyes right now. So I picked out several products that I want to use up, and I'm pretty good about using up several different products. I go through my products that I really love, like my bronzers, blushes. I go through several concealers, and I like to use my daily things, and I will use them up. Well, I picked out some things that I do not use every day. to try to use up. So we're project panning several products, and I'm going to talk about the palette last. So the things that I've picked out so far, I picked out a powder. If there's things that you guys want to see, if there's products you're like, Mel, add this, just let me know. I haven't picked out everything, but just let me know. Just let me know. Oh, there's something in my eye. The first product is this powder right here. Remember I was talking about purple powders. This is from Fenty. It is the Pro Filter Instant Retouch Setting Powder in lavender. I love this for brightening up my under eye. I actually have, yep, it's right over here. I miss this powder. I don't even know where the top is, and I'm almost out of it. It is from MAC Cosmetics. This was the purple CC powder. What is it called? The Prep and Prime CC Color Correcting Loose in Illuminate. I really, really like that powder, and I always just have it sitting here. Most of the time I use my By Terry, but I still have that one. I dip into it just randomly. So instead of using that one, I am going to use up the rest of this, and I have a lot. This is going to take me a long time to go through because I only use this to brighten up underneath my eyes. Sometimes I'll put it on my forehead, but it's going to take me a hot minute because there is a lot of product in here. How much is in here? 28 grams. But we're going to try and go through that this year. And then for my blush and highlight, I decided to go, this thing is disgusting. It's so gross because I use it a lot, and I use it a lot off of camera because it's not available. It's not available, so I try to not use it too much. This is from Wayne Goss. It is the Weightless Veil Blush Palette in Coral Rose. I am wearing this today as well as the highlight. I just put this highlight on very, very lightly because, again, we're going for a softer look, and this is a really good one, especially when you're dry or anything like that, because it doesn't emphasize texture as much, and you can get it super intense or subtle like I have it on today. And then this blush, this is also what I'm wearing today. I just thought this would be a good one to use up. I do have to admit, though, that I'm a little concerned that what if I go through this and then it's not back out? We might have a problem then. We might have a problem. I'll be contacting Wayne saying, so I'm gonna need my Coral Rose back. All right, the next thing is a mascara. This is the Pillow Talk Push Up Lashes. I actually do not love this mascara. It takes me 30 coats for me to get, I get more separation and length with this and less volume. I'm not wearing this one today. I like my really volumizing mascaras, but I want to use this one up. I do like the comb though. I noticed that when another mascara goes a little wonky, like if will make my lashes stick together, if I just wipe off the wand and I use this, it separates my lashes again. So that's one really good thing about that mascara. And then a foundation. This is the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation. I have the shade 220. I also have 260, but this is my winter shade. So I want to, it's actually a little light for my winter shade, but I want to use this up. So this is the foundation that I chose. I didn't choose a concealer because my concealers are in my top drawer and I go through them all the time. I did choose a primer for the eyes, the Makeup by Mario. I noticed this today, that my creams are starting to dry just a little bit. Now, do keep in mind that I accidentally left this open when I first got it overnight and I actually liked it a little bit better after that. But just keep that in mind, but it is drying up just a little bit, so I'm trying to go through this before that happens. What is the shelf life? It's 12 months, so I'll go through this. I really like it anyway. And then for a bronzer, the only reason why I put this down was because of Charlotte Tilbury. I love that airbrush bronzer so much that does anybody know the struggle that I went through trying to figure out a Guerlain bronzer that would work for me? And there were so many that I would try that were a limited edition or whatever, and none of them were working for me, but everybody loves the terracotta bronzer. Well, I finally found one that works. This is the terracotta matte bronzer, and it's the shade Clair Light. I am wearing this right now. I actually have a little bit of it in my, the crease, but you can't see it as much because I took a little bit of the shade from my palette that I'm going to tell you about. But yeah, I've got this in my crease and I'm wearing it as my bronzer today. So we're going to project pan that. It's so weird to hear me say. I feel like it's strange, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited. Now this, I I first thought, okay, well, I want to start wearing more, I want to start wearing more of my lipsticks in general. I was watching Charlotte Holdcroft and she mentioned that in her resolutions tag video, which you should definitely check out. It's not the same one I did, but it's a really good video. And she mentioned that and I was like, yes, I need to do that. So I'm trying to use more of my lipsticks, even when I'm doing a more bold eye, and I would say this is kind of in between, but if I'm doing a more bold eye, I still want to play with color a little bit. For my project pan, I know that I'm not going to pan or go through a bold lipstick, so I wanted to just go with a nude, but one that I'm not using all the time. This is from Patrick Ta. It's the Monochromatic Moment Silky Lip Cream, and it's in the shade She's Unapologetic, and it's so pretty. I don't even know why I haven't been using this, because I love this type of formula and everything, and I love this color. So I'm going to be using this up. It's going to happen, and it's such a Mel color. Now let's talk about the palette, the eyeshadow palette that I chose for my project pan. Several people requested that I pan my palette. The problem with that is that I don't have another Tiny Marvels palette, so I just can't do that. I have to have that in my collection. I'll still do more tutorials with it, but I just don't want to pan that palette, especially if I don't have another one. So I was thinking about what to pan, and Pat McGrath came up several times. I was like, I can't pan my Pat McGrath. What? No! And then I started thinking, well, there's one palette that I have that I love that I have two of. Well, actually, I think I have two of them. But this one, I have the limited edition packaging as well. So if I pan this, if I am successful, will it be that big of a deal if I go completely through it? No. So we are going to pan the Divine Rose 2. This is what I'm currently wearing. I've worn it in several of my videos, and the reason why you've seen it in several of my videos is because I'm going to go through it. I am going to go through this. I have taken pictures of this palette just so that we can really see the beginning and then as we go along. The plan is to update you guys as I do my updates. Maybe every month or every other month. I'm not sure yet, but I will update you guys on my progress. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.